see here. There we are. That's me. I worked for the government. Hello. This was an actual headline during South by Southwest this year. And make no mistake that this is really the underlying kind of premise of getting up here now for the third year in a row to tell you a little bit about the what's happening on the federal level with regard to lean startup and all of the stuff that you're learning here this week. Whether it's to make a plea to you to do a tour of duty and come join one of our teams, or whether it's to pique your interest and think, maybe my software, maybe my product could have a market in the federal government. We've got a lot of different avenues and a lot of different experiments that we're running to kind of help widen the aperture and help people explore those options. But fundamentally, 18F, the USDS, we are here to transform government services. In order to do that, sometimes we have to work with and transform some outmoded practices. But the only real lasting way to do that is to focus on culture and to just transform the institutions and the culture around service delivery in the government. And that's the work. That's what we're doing. But the reason is that last line there. It's because the impact that we are able to have on people's lives is pretty incredible. Whether it's an immigration project or whether it's simply helping someone get through a form 10 times quicker than they were able to before. All of your lives are hopefully going to benefit from the work that this incredible group of folks are working on. This is part of our DNA. This whole thing started really in 2012 when Todd Park, the former Chief Technology Officer of the United States, and Steve Van Rokel, the former Chief Information Officer of the United States, got on stage at TechCrunch Disrupt and announced this new thing called the Presidential Innovation Fellowship. And Todd stood on stage and said, we want you to do what you would do in the private sector, and we'll blow up the barriers in the way. They have done their damnedest to do that. We still hit our heads against some walls every once in a while, but this part of our DNA is really, really important. And it's what has allowed this whole ecosystem to grow and to thrive. The Presidential Innovation Fellows, 18F, and the USDS, between just those three teams, we've brought nearly 500 folks into the federal government over the last 3 years to help deliver products that you would be proud to deliver, that aren't the way that we've always done things. I'm Hillary. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of 18F, so I'll be focusing on 18F. It's a team inside the General Services Administration. We have about 200 people working from coast to coast. Our biggest team is in DC. About 40% of the team is there, perhaps for obvious reasons. But we do have a team of 15 in Chicago, a team of 15 in New York, a team of 35 here in San Francisco, and then all those other little dots are 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people working from home or from coffee shops together. And we've worked really hard to develop the infrastructure to allow us to be a distributed and a kind of chat-based team. But this is our higher order mission for that whole ecosystem. We're really here focusing on making government fundamentally better. Right the fuck now, as Todd Park would say. Today is the last sentence of that mission statement for a very specific reason. One of the projects 18F has had the pleasure to work on for the last couple of years is with our partners at the Federal Election Commission. And I mention this one not just because it's timely, but also because it's been a wonderful partnership for us. The FEC came to us and said, we have a lot of data, but no one can get to it. And it's really only third parties that come and download it and kind of munge the data, and then they do interesting things with it. We want to do interesting things with our data. And so we've been building this website, beta.fec.gov, in the open as an alpha, and then the beta, and we're sort of continuously delivering and working in the open with our partners all along so that we can give you interesting views into the campaign finance data that they are collecting and storing so that you can find out where is that money going in and out. Also, because we started with the API first and then sort of started building the website on top of it, we're enabling sites like this to do things and to provide views and windows into that data that are meaningful to them. And that's a really kind of fundamental piece of the way we work, about being kind of data-focused and API-focused. We also built a product called analytics.usa.gov, which allows you to go to this website, see how many people are on a .gov website right now. In addition to kind of seeing trends and what pages are popular on any given day or through any given week, it also allows us to surface some trends. This is the largest installation of kind of Google Enterprise Analytics. It's on thousands of .gov websites, so we're able to see across the .gov footprint that have this installed. 45% of users are using Chrome. Only 60% of users are coming from a desktop. So all of the things that we've been preaching about kind of focusing on mobile, focusing on responsive design, it's not just because it helps us deliver better services, but it's because it's important. It's because the American people need it in order to complete the information that they're trying to get and the transactions that they're trying to complete. We have also invested a significant amount of time and energy into building things that basically help us do our work better. One of those things is the web standards that we've put together at standards.usa.gov. And this is essentially a collection of user interface and design components and a framework. It's not exactly bootstrapped for government, but you can kind of think of it in that frame. So we've built things like the design standards. We've also built cloud.gov, which is a platform as a service. So it's kind of similar to something like Heroku. It's built on Cloud Foundry. And it means that developers don't have to read the 4,000 pages of compliance anymore. They can simply push code using cloud.gov with Amazon Web Services or Azure or anything else underneath and automatically be in compliance. So we did this really as a way to make our own lives easier and better, but now being able to distribute it across the federal footprint is making an enormous impact for development teams across the government. We also do a fair bit of consulting, and primarily around acquisition, helping other agencies buy stuff. And we have created, really trying to bring that lean startup mentality also to our consulting practices and kind of the way we think about helping our partners. So we've built frameworks, we've built platforms for them to do this work as well. Two that I'll highlight just really fast. One is the Agile blanket purchase agreement. And this is essentially, it's a wonky government term for a pool of vendors that work like we do. So now there are 17 vendors in this pool that are helping us expand our reach. And we're only a team of 200. We can't do everything, and we want to be collaborating with vendors and with the private industry. And so now there are other vendors in this pool that we can write task orders for and be really specific and guide them through this process of working with government partners to help them focus on being open source, modular contracting methods, breaking them up into chunks instead of expecting one vendor to kind of do the whole pie. The other experiment that we're running is around something called micro-purchase. And I put this in here specifically in case anybody's interested in checking it out, or if you have some time on your hands and you're a coder. This is essentially kind of an auction. It's a reverse auction. It's a marketplace to go and say, I can help you write that little bit of code for $3,500 or less. $3,500 being the magic number that allows us to buy something on our government credit cards. So now we are writing really specific task orders, putting them kind of into this auction, and letting people reverse bid down. Our first auction sold for $1. It really surprised us. We didn't expect that. But as you'll see, we've done many different auctions. The average length has been about 2 days. Something that's really awesome about this, and one thing I started with, is we've registered 89 small businesses that were not previously doing business with the federal government. So it's giving businesses a new way, a new lens into how they can contribute and how they can sort of be a part of this movement and there maybe be a kind of a springboard to other federal government work. So this is our high order mission for 18F. Build, buy, and share. And we have 5 pillars that we stand on to do that. We want to lead by example. We want to kind of fundamentally be holding our hands, delivering together with our partners. We believe that focusing on the user and a relentless focus on actual people using services is the only way to transform government and that it will have an absolute fundamental effect on the way that you interact with your government. We're measurable and data-driven, as I manage, like thinking about analytics, thinking about data, thinking about trying to lay the foundation, lay the plumbing first, build an API so that it helps us and it helps other people use government data. Being agile, being lean, everything that you're learning about this week. And then last but not least, being open by default. It's truly important to us. We are open source first. Everything that we code is on GitHub for, whether it's a small tool to help us kind of crunch through some data, or whether it's the code that is powering cloud.gov. It is all open source. You can fork it. You can use it. It is the people's code. You should be able to use it. So we build trust and confidence with our partners. We want to deliver together. It is the only way to really the only way to do this work is to walk hand in hand, to think about the people at the end of the service, the people at the end of, the person looking at the form, staring at the data, wondering what to do next. And I have a few minutes left, and I do want to tell a specific story. I'm going to go over to my notes for this part. But about a year ago, there was someone from Code for America who was basically in the right place at the right time to get to read a request for proposal that was in the works for a new child welfare services system, and it looked pretty typical for government. It looked like things we'd seen before, and possibly things that had failed before. California knew it needed to invest in this new case management system. So officials did what they do. They wrote an RFP. In fact, they had written 7 different versions of this RFP. It was 1,500 pages long, seeking a single vendor to deliver the entire system, the entire experience, a long list of predefined requirements, and at a cost that California was estimating around $500 million. I'm just going to let you stare at this slide for a minute. I don't need to read those numbers to you, but the title of this slide says it all. This system was too important to fail. The Secretary of the Government Operations Agency knew it. The Secretary of California Health and Human Services knew it. And this was the perfect system in their eyes, the perfect choice for a new approach, because it was too important to fail. Enter 18F. We, as I mentioned, the code word inside our team for a while for that type of work around consulting and helping agencies kind of rethink how they approach procurement, how they approach acquisition, how they approach buying software and digital services. We'd been calling RFP ghostwriting. And it was kind of a nascent consulting business for us, where we were essentially helping agencies refactor RFPs to make them more modular, more agile, user-centered, and open source by default. Enter the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, who went out on a limb and became our partner, paid for 18F to help California rewrite the RFP. And we sent a team to Sacramento to lead kind of a multi-day workshop for dozens of officials across the state. And some of them some of them were very skeptical, just put it that way. And to get everybody on board with modular contracting, with all of the modern methodologies that I've been talking about, they were skeptical. And, but after 2 days, we got sort of down to brass tacks, and we took that 1,500-page RFP and turned it into 2 initial 70-page RFPs. And honestly, the RFP itself was 10 pages long. Just a basic statement of work. What do you need to accomplish with this? What is the value proposition? What are we setting out to do? 10 pages. And then 60 pages of legalese that sort of had to be in there. But you get the point. Even at 70 pages, this is incredible. So, and the reason the length matters is, again, bringing more people into the ecosystem, widening the aperture a little bit. It's, a 70-page RFP is much easier to wade through for a team that doesn't have a specialized team focused on government services that is trained to read through these 1,500-page RFPs that are just mostly about compliance and this, that, and the other. So, we enabled a larger pool of vendors to submit a bid, which we think has helped increase competition and is helping to improve the final products. And improving the final product means this. Means that 500 million children, no, 500,000, sorry. 500 million children, 500,000 children, 500,000 children, and at-risk kids are going to have better lives. Hundreds of millions in taxpayer dollars will have been saved or avoided at the end of the day, all because a critical mass of people in California transform the practices, which transform the culture, which is going to transform these services, which is going to transform people's lives. This is a quote from one of our partners there, who wrote to us just to say that things are indeed changing. More agencies are approaching them, wanting to kind of run this same play, understand how they got this done, how do they approach it, how do they do it. They've copied our Agile BPA for their own purposes. It's called the Agile Pre-Qualified Vendor Pool here in California. So things are changing. And we're working with other states to do this same thing. And that's really why I'm here. That's why I'm here standing on this stage telling this story. Because little by little, bit by bit, it leads to big change. So if you want to be a bureaucrat, or even help some bureaucrats, there's lots of opportunities to do that. This is a short list of some of the things we've delivered and that we're currently working on. And I'll be hanging out if you'd like to chat. Thank you for the opportunity to share the story.